Today is February the 22nd, 2021. This is the Service Hero Show, 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate Success Through Service. My name is Tamara Hunter, and I am your host. And this is a show where we share inspiring stories of those that are inspiring others. So let's do this. Today we have a service hero that I am sure you will all find extremely fascinating, fun, interesting, and say, wow, how does she do all of that? However, I'm not the one that's going to be the one to introduce her today. I have someone else that has come to do exactly that.
Welcome to Tamara's Service Hero Show, where today she welcomes a very special guest. This woman is not only a professor, she is a TEDx speaker. She has trained thousands of students around the globe to use their authentic voice and has broken cultural barriers. Please help me welcome my friend, Rosalyn Kahn. Have a beautiful show, Tamara and Rosalyn. You are doing amazing work, and I am honored and blessed to introduce you to today's show. Bye-bye.
Wow. That was amazing. I love it.
Well, I'm glad you do. And we have Helene, who is one of the ambassadors within the program that we run, the 501c3 community, and she is welcoming all of the buddies that will be arriving. We have Caroline Berzins, who is the production assistant of this show, and she is verifying that we are live on E360 TV platform. We have something else that's new that I'm going to share right now for all of you that don't know how to get on to the E360 TV platform. They've made it easy for us. So let me share that right now.
Wow,
you want to dance with that little gecko, right?
Yeah, he is awesome. Let's get it down, baby. Let's get it down. Get some shaking and baking.
I know. I love it too. And so, Helene, you know, have we seen your purple pen? We may have to just go looking for that today. And hashtag live, hashtag replay. All right. So, as our dear friend Renee Reich shared with us when she opened up about who it is that you are and what you're doing, it's incredible. And I really truly meant it when I'm like, how do you do it all? Because you're everywhere. You're doing so much. And a college professor, you're a philanthropist, and that you're out there really making a difference when it comes to different causes. You're an author. You're a TEDx speaker 3 times over, right? 3 times?
Yeah.
And not only that, you help and coach and teach and inspire and work with many others that have graced the TEDx stage. Plus, you're on all the red carpets interviewing. You are a host for your own shows. How do you, and you travel the world.
I pat myself on the back and I say, I don't know sometimes how I do it, you know, which foot goes in front of the other. But, you know, if you always start with having a kind heart and wanting to help humanity, and it's not how many people love me, how many people hate me, you know, am I trying to be like them, but just really being yourself and being who you really are. I mean, if we get down to it and we really look at it, kindness surrounds us if we want to see it. And the choice is our own eyes. What do we allow to be our filter to make it happen?
Uh-huh. I love that. I'm taking that in. I want everybody else to take that in too, because right now, especially right now, in the time of, and that's why I date the shows. I used to number them. And then when COVID hit, and one of my coaches said, okay, everyone that has a show, I want you, if it's been dormant, even if you stopped it, if it had a feel-good message, I want it back up and going. And that next day I was back up and going again. I had taken some time off, and that's when I started numbering the shows, because I thought, okay, what we are doing is we are right now in the middle of history. We are right now in the middle of so many different events that are happening, almost like one after another. And you yourself, and I actually have a clip that you did recently. You yourself were addressing this with how to reduce stress, some tips on how to reduce stress. So we're going to listen to you, and then we're going to talk about this and go into even a little bit more of what it is that you've been doing. Guys, stick around.
Hi, this is Rosalyn. Starting today on a beautiful day, just wanted to give you how to reduce our stress and anxiety in today's troubled times. It's really exciting to go ahead and say that in today's times of stress and duress with everybody with the coronavirus, everyone is kind of in a grouchy, crummy mood, all yelling at one another, and there are all things that we can go ahead and do to reduce our stress in today's world. So I wanted to tell you some tips that I thought might help you out in your life to go ahead and reduce our stress. I know for me, one of the greatest things I enjoy in life is to get up and see the morning sun of a bright and beautiful day, because every day is more beautiful than the one before. It might have been a night, but you know what I really enjoyed? I absolutely love baking. And so this morning I went out and had a baking frenzy. There was no one in the kitchen, and I made breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you go to my Facebook page, you can see all these delights. It's really important in these times we take out time for ourselves to do the things that we love, to do the things that we appreciate, to do the things that absolutely mean the most to us. Because it's real simple to sit in our house, feel sorry for ourselves, think about all our losses, think about all the things that we don't have. But the one thing I think really matters in the world is when we take the time out to give gratitude to the birds that are singing in the background, to give gratitude that we're above this earth, to give gratitude that we're alive and that we can brave. So today's wish is that you take a moment to do something for yourself, to celebrate the fact that you're alive, to celebrate the fact that you're here. And I promise tomorrow I'm going to come with a brand new wish. So remember, today is a bright and beautiful day. Make it better for someone else. Please share the love, the kindness, and adoration. And the next time you see someone who's screaming and yelling at you, just smile and say, I wish you could have a better day. This is Rosalyn Kahn wishing you a bright and beautiful day. Tips on how to reduce our stress in today's troubled times. God bless. Thank you so much.
And I have here also your first book, I believe, Random Acts of Kindness Are Changing the World. And how we can master the passion and our purpose, how absolutely appropriate for the time you wrote it, of course, and for these days that we're in currently, going along with your tips on how to reduce stress. You can say in some ways simple, yet sometimes it's not always easy to remember in that moment. I loved how you said, when someone's yelling at someone else, like coming in and yelling, I'm picturing, okay, someone's yelling, and then it's like, okay, take that breath, and yet that can get either our juices up, like fight or flight, or we can take that moment and remember to breathe, and that will reduce not only our stress, but it could help to reduce the situation, the stress of the situation, rather than help to magnify it, right?
No, it's exactly so. Because in every day, it's, I could be baking all this stuff, and it's just like, why are you always making a mess, and so on and so forth. And let's not look at the mess, look at the beauty therein. Life is many miracles, and we can go in the rose-colored glasses or the black and gray ones, and there's a lot to be, thankful for if we simply take out the time. It's, you were talking about numbering, and I did 188 of those posts of those how to
Wow.
reduce stress and anxiety, and it was amazing. I had these favorite books, and I'd bring stuffed animals, and I put a picture up of what I had done and what I had created, and they were just messages to help people survive. Oh, it's kind of from that you were talking about marking and momenting what's happened is during this pandemic. I wrote another book, and I've been talking about it recently in a whole new light. You talk about history as it's happening. My newest book, which is Message for Tomorrow's Leaders, is almost like a historical ethnographic study of violence, the protest, and what we're seeing in today's world. And what's most spectacular about it is they're just individuals from 12 to 88 looking at history as it's happening and giving suggestions and feedbacks on things of what we can do each and every day to be it could be considered a career book of what do you want to do when you grow up, or how do we deal with this anxiety that we're facing today. So they're all kind of come together,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I do know. And Helene is welcoming you,
Oh,
and
thank you,
thank you
Helene.
for
Thank you.
doing that. And party time. It's okay. I need to rock this day. Time to sing a song. And that in itself, I love that attitude, right? And kindness really does work. Yes, kindness, and if you're in a party mood, there's shine on, party on, and I've seen plenty of pictures of you and having a lot of fun with a lot of your friends, and 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 yet right now what I want to do is continue on this discussion in regards to the one book, messages, a message for tomorrow's leaders, and I absolutely love this. I'm a huge history buff. And when you go back to yesterday's leaders, of course, you can read about so many of them, and many of the leaders that ended up really truly making a difference in our lives. Many of them, when you study, they weren't necessarily looking to become that leader that they ended up becoming. The situation was presented itself, and it called for people to stand up and say, okay, I see a need, and look, okay, there's no one, I'll step up. It's not what I was looking to do. However, many times you were presented with that ability to do it. And that's one of the things I see with you, and why I wanted to honor you as a service hero that you are, because you look for opportunities, or maybe I need to ask, do you look for them, or do they present themselves? Because you end up working in different areas and have been over years, where you might be helping with different cultures to get along. You may be helping people that have been through domestic violence to, find a way through. You may be helping in other ways. Also, like Renee shared, helping people to have their authentic voice to then get up on a TEDx stage so that they can take their message out and help others. Have you always sought for that, or has it just always
I
these
think
opportunities?
life just goes ahead and happens. I'll give you an example. My students were giving thank you, Stephen Smith. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming in from Sarasota, Florida. I was talking to my students in my class today, and I'm always trying to give them examples to teach them. I said, we're giving a tribute speech about a person who's changed the world. And I'm happy to say that they turned down Elon Musk and they turned down Susan B. Anthony, heroes. And I said, there's this great magazine came out with Time. Let me find you a current hero, someone who's less than 40 years old, who's out making it today. Better yet, if you go online, you can look their name up. Their name is all over because they were one of the top 100. And then this other student had a problem, and she said, well, I don't know how to put this. I want to share with people that I help people, but I've been helped, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, there's a lady that I'm coaching, and she's going for a Miss Teen Filipino, and she was telling me this example, and just hear the example that, her mother had taken her out to give food to 20 different communities. And I said, why 20 different communities? What's that really all about? And she said, well, let me tell you the story. And she goes back and she says, well, my mother was from the Philippines, and in the Philippines, my grandfather was a real activist in the community, and he was in healthcare just like my mother. And he instilled in her the importance of helping others. Even as she came here as a single mother, she was out there helping all sorts of people, not just one people. And she goes, oh, I got it. And then you should have seen the response that she put on the screen. It's like beautiful. And how did you do that, teacher? How did you do that? And it's just always trying to give examples to enlighten people. You mentioned domestic violence. There was another lady, it escapes my mind, that I was on the back of her book talking about violence, because when I was young growing up, it was about rape. It was about a young child who told me at the tender age of 12 or 13, and I've never forgotten what she said. It was one of her father's buddies, another professor, or a friend that I used to swim with, who didn't let the adversity get to her. It was okay for her to beat her up. When he went for the dog, that was when she drew the line. And being in a domestic violence workshop, and just saying these stories and saying, there was a friend of mine, I told her to leave her husband. Everyone said, mind your own business, do what you want. It's you've got to help people out in their place. And she went on, and she's now in a happy relationship. I've for years and years, I've done the AIDS walk for Los Angeles, and just did it because it was the right thing to do. Been in groups that we had to go out and help people, and it's just who I am, is helping people to become better versions of themselves in whatever way and whatever opportunity is out there.
Right. And that's the thing, that why this show is because many times those that are doing exactly what you're doing, the service heroes, you're out there, people know you, but they may know you for other reasons. They know you as the TEDx speaker. They know you as the author. They know you as the red carpet interviewer, the different things that you've been doing. Yet, not always are those that are out there in the front lines sharing, not always do they share these. I mean, here you are. Okay, I don't know. Did you win this, or was this just a picture? Because people look at this and they say, oh yeah, she's what? And yeah, look at that crown.
Well, it was funny. I have a good friend of mine. I know a lot of people in Hawaii who are celebrities and people who are queens and things like that. And there was a project that was a fundraiser for the Women's Lighthouse by Yulima Wakobli. And her friend had won the crown. And so they were all passing us around. And I said, well, I'd like to wear that crown on my head. Can you take a picture of me? I think that'd be kind of cool. And so there was the picture. It was taken. And that's the story of that picture and that crown. And I'm smiling my big smile.
I love it. I love it. And in fact, okay, so then and then I saw this and I'm like, okay, is she in there?
Well, it's funny because that was a picture of my friend who was a beauty queen, and I was out there supporting her at this particular event, and you could hear me screaming really loud in the background and so on and so forth. go Alma, go Elima, and the whole 9 yards. It's just wonderment. It's, having those opportunities to be out there. And people always say, why are you always cheering other people on? Who goes ahead and cheers you on? It's like, well, you never know when it will come back. You never know when it will come back. And every once in a while, they're posting, oh, that's good for you, Rosalyn. Thank you for that comment. That's really nice, Rosalyn. That's really nice. Oh, thank you, Caroline. I really appreciate that. That is so sweet. I've also done work for the homeless people. Let me tell you about that homeless story. That's a beautiful one. When I was doing my random acts of kindness, at one particular point, I was in Philadelphia, and I met this sergeant who was talking about his own story with homeless back in Philadelphia, and how in his reign, this is going back a number of years ago, he had helped these people who didn't have what they needed, and gave them the materials and stuff that they needed to make it happen. And I was on a show here in Los Angeles with another lady from a book club talking about helping out the homeless. And I remember at one point in my class, we were doing the service learning project, and I really got my people to help out. And one of them was collecting clothes and food for a thing in Armenia, or another situation. Another woman I gave a TED talk on was handing out Bibles and sack lunches, and just said it was the first time she'd ever met so many people in the world. It was just beautiful stories of, I remember a friend of mine, Lori Bowen, I became friends with her husband in the most strange ways. Her husband and I met at the bedside of a guy by the name of Steve Jennings.
Oh,
and Steve
yes.
Jennings was the most amazing humanitarian that one could ever know. I gave us a talk where him and his good friend, names escape me, but David
Fagan.
David Fagan was in my first book. There we go. Thank you so much. Was in the first book, and was kindness. And my husband doesn't like this about me, but if you know anything about selling books, you got to tell anybody and everybody. And I said, I can't believe it. I told everybody and anybody, and I had 34 people who came out, and I was so excited and so happy. And Steve said to me, I don't know who this lady is, but this lady's going to change people's lives.
Yeah.
And so wherever I'd go, he would make the time to spend with me. You think I'm the greatest thing of sliced bread, and in Hollywood, I'm a fraction of a decimal of anything. But I have another page that's coming out, and the world will see. But that's up to come. It's on Rosalyn Kahn on Instagram, and just wait and just watch. You'll see amazing things coming from there. But back to the Steve Jennings story.
Yeah.
He was in a horrible accident. Thanks. I love to help the homeless. Who's made the light and give. Thank you. This love is in the world, definitely so. It's we were at his bedside, and his best friend, Robert Bond, came in, and I don't think I'd ever made a friend before at someone's bedside. But to tell you about the quality of this relationship, if you look at the book cover of my second book cover, which is called Dogs and Roses, How to Reduce Stress and Anxiety in Today's Troubled Times, the picture that you see on the front of that book is a beautiful dog with spectacles on, of heart-shaped glasses. There you go. There it is, heart-shaped glasses. Robert Bond, God bless his soul, told me that this picture, to fit in line synonymous with Guns and Roses, would be what would fit in people's hearts and people's minds. And I remember talking to him. He went through some hardships, and he eventually passed on, but I was invited to his funeral. And I was so honored to become friends with his wife that he left behind, that she invited me out to this Veterans Affairs event. There's a circle to all these things that go round and round.
Oh, wow. This is amazing. Keep going.
And so we ended up at this Veterans Affair event, and I was talking to people because part of the money went to help our local veterans, and they had me dressed up as God, why do I forget these names? I was dressed up with the the one with the stamps.
Uncle Sam? No.
No, not Uncle Sam. A lady who made the flag. Betsy
Oh,
Ross.
Betsy Ross.
I was dressed up as Betsy Ross.
Okay.
And I had on the hat, and people were taking pictures with me and Betsy Ross. And I met these people who was this dog association. And I said, oh, you gotta do something with my book on dogs and roses. You gotta do something with that book on dogs and roses. It's just destined to be. And but those are the worlds. I met a guy from the Dodgers, and I thought that he was doing absolutely, amazing with him. His name was Mr. Powell. And, life is just full of circles and stories. Oh, thank you, Helen. I so appreciate your kindness. You are just awesome. Thank you, Carolyn Brazerns. That is just so cool. And it's just love is there. I spent a year traveling in a group called Up With People that was promoting cultural understanding. And, it took 25 or 30 years for people to come and friend me on my page. And I thought when you bring kindness to the world and you're sharing random acts of kindness, would you be upset, Tamara, if I posted that on your page that I was sharing kindness with the world? Would you find that offensive?
No, but I understand. Okay, so, everything you're talking about, let me just tell you, Rosalyn, there are so many, like, very, very thin degrees of separation in regards to where you have been, who you've been associated with, the timing with it all, and then even the journey that I have been on with all of all that my mission has been. And I'm listening as you're going, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I came in just as this was happening. I knew of this event. It's like and knew people that were there, very involved, talking with them, supporting them, yet not in, I never got to meet the one gentleman, however, I ended up going to an event that was all about and honoring him. And it was the very first event I ever went to as we were preparing the nonprofit that I am now over. And the question, to answer your question about posting on people's pages about random act of kindness, when I was running for the impactor to change the way cancer is done throughout the world, a big movement, a big need, I was doing that. And yeah, I had some people unfriend me. However, they friended me later, and so I understand that many times when you are doing the good, like what you're talking about, that it can sometimes be uncomfortable for others, and others will embrace it, and you never know who's going to do what.
Well, I was giving my students, we were giving an example of how to start a speech. And I said, well, you can start it off with a shocking statement, a short story, or whatever. And I said, my favorite statement is, you never know the words you say who can change someone's life. Thank you, Carolyn. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. And it's true. I said, I was giving them an example. I always admired other people's mothers who left the house and went off to work, because my mother didn't, but she did so many other things and giving to the community that I think that's where my gifts came from.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about bad things happening, good things. I was a victim of scoliosis, and that's given me a huge heart to understand anybody of any different disease, that anybody that has any shortcomings is to be that person who wants to have compassion, to be the person who wants to go ahead and share. Lori Bone is an incredible individual who's gone ahead and done wonders to keep her husband's business up and going. And they say the old saying that we're all 6 degrees of separation, and how, I'd say the names and you'd say the last names of, being in that same room, being in that same place. We never know who there's literally 6 people who know the same people that we know. And I've got to give true gratitude to some good friends of mine that are helping me. One of them, his name is James Bobbick. He's the director of my community of unity, of bringing the people together, Rosalyn Kahn, and my manager, Dr. Muriel McKinley, who's my manager, who's always finding new stars and new celebrities for me to talk to and interview. And I do any of it if I didn't have them. And, you know, Lee Pound, who's my coach and mentor, who's helped me on a number of my books. They're just absolutely great. So, you know, it takes a village, just like Hillary Clinton said, it takes a village to raise a child. And it's a village that's brought your message out to the world that's kind of doing the same thing with what we're doing here. Oh, yes.
I love this.
This is Tyler Gordon, and Dr. Muriel McKinley helped me set this up. I was going to his African American art exhibit that was being held in Los Angeles at the Beverly Center. And we had this beautiful interaction. He was telling us of his upcoming talk, the one that he'd done with Kamala Harris, and about being in the Time magazine. And he was just absolutely beaming about that incident of being there. And, you know, the real story to know of this kid is he was born mute. He could not speak for the first 5 years of his life. And despite those 5 years of his life that he was mute, he said he hasn't stopped talking since that time. And what's amazing is I asked him about how he learned his passion for art. And I don't think many people know this, is his mother painted upside down. She would be standing on her head, and that's how she would create all the paintings that she did. And one day Tyler was doing something, and he got this message or had this dream. And then the dream came to him that if he didn't use his talents, where would they be? And this kid has 4 million people who are following him. And I had the chance to interact with him, and it was just amazing. He's gone to New York. He had a museum up there, and he is incredible. And one of his good friends he introduced me to, whose name is AJ Stunts. And AJ Stunts was the 12-year-old who's on my Instagram page that I got to interview. And here's the story of a 12-year-old who, for the last 3 years, has been raising money for cancer kids in northern. His friend Tyler had cancer, and he goes and he does a joint event with them, and he raises money for the homeless to help the homeless out in San Mateo. That he's raised over $3,000. He just released an album yesterday. And, you know, and he said in the book, he agreed that he'd have the time, was that he didn't originally think that homeless happened to children, but that he went there on Christmas and it was an everyday experience. And so from that everyday experience, he decided to go and visit the homeless shelter each and every week. And he said that we shouldn't celebrate these people once a year, right, but we should make it an everyday occurrence.
Right. I want to acknowledge that Tammy Girl Linan, she is here. Her whole mission, actually, she's out of the Phoenix area, and she is about making sure that people, you know, the spotlight on the military and what she calls the starving dog, and also that there's just too many within the military that have been, you know, losing their life, committing suicide, epidemic level, and finding ways of helping to turn that around, and so many others doing the same thing. And I know that the military is a mission that you were saying that that you were involved with and that you were helping. And we all need different people that are coming together with their will, where they see what lane are they in to make the difference. And all of our different lanes, it's like the young man that you were talking about on your Instagram, and going to the homeless, because there's too many of the military that are homeless and living on the street. There's too many that have been diagnosed with cancer. Guys, do you realize How many are couch surfing? How many are in their cars? How many are on the streets because they're trying to get through their cancer experience, and they don't have enough to be able to make it without making choices. And sometimes the short term might be on the street for the long term, and it might be to be able to receive treatment. There's a lot of stories that we need to be able to continually be sharing. And that is one of the things that I see you doing. And not only you doing, you coaching others to do the same thing. That is huge. Now it sounds as though you're still a practicing professor too. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I still teach in the colleges, and I've lost some of my classes. It makes life a little more challenging and things like that. So, I got my hands in many different pockets in many different places, but you talk about the military. There's a speech on my Instagram page I'd love people to look at, and it's how to reduce stress and anxiety. And it's about this whole pandemic of the number of people who are committing suicide, the number of people who are becoming opioid addictions and things of that nature. There's a best-selling author, Ken Unger, and who just talks about the importance of listening. But it's a real crisis because people don't think that there's anybody out there that cares for them. A funny story. I've lots of stories. You tell me when you've heard enough and I'll stop.
Keep them coming. I love stories. Stories teach. Stories.
Well, I was on a cruise. With my husband to the Bahamas, and I met this guy in the military, and he was dressed out to go to the beach and, go sunning and so on and so forth. Looked quite nice, I might add. And we get talking, and he began to share the story, which convinced me to help out the veterans. He said, I remember being stationed in South Carolina, and when people would come home, they'd have these dogs. When it would be time to go back, they'd take them back to the shelter, and they were killed because they couldn't. And that story bothered me so much that I decided to work with one of my fellow teachers. Had a friend who's back in Illinois who has a shelter that he basically trains dogs to work with people who are in the military. And just another military story that goes ahead and comes out is when I taught in Antelope Valley College. I remember there was a kid, and we gave a speech about an important object. He went ahead and he brought in his grandfather's helmet. And he said, my grandfather was in the military. I was in the military. And the sad part about it is he was also suffering from, I'll just call it Agent Orange.
Okay.
And we went ahead and we said, how many people do you know in your group that are suffering from this disease? There's the Veterans Center here in Southern California and in North Hills. You should have them go there. And he would tell me the horror stories of what they experienced when they went there, of how people don't listen, they're not taken care of, and so forth. And there was a beautiful building that went up, and I've heard on the other side there's veterans of foreign war, and there's a friend of mine named is Pink Lady and Chaplain Dove, who are feeding 85,000 people in the city of Los Angeles, Orange County, and San Bernardino through the Kenneth Dobson Memorial Fund to help anybody who's in need and has a food shortage, because 1 out of every 5 people in today's world are short of food. And so it's pretty scary. It's pretty scary. But
and this is where I believe with what your messages are, because we need to have our eyes open. Yes, we need to have our eyes open. And then one of the reasons that I've stepped up to right now share inspiring stories of those inspiring others is to share how many people in their different lanes are showing up to help in these different areas. And then if all of us can then say, okay, oh, wow, that one really hits my heart now. I can throw some effort into this. And then if all of us can then find something, whatever it may be, if it's the dogs, if it's the military, if it's people with cancer, if it's the homeless, whatever it may be, that it's like, oh, that's where I can help. And whatever little amount that you can help, and all of us doing this and finding that service hero we all have inside, we will then make the difference, because we can literally change what is happening out there. We really can.
No,
I,
that's
without
the
it,
beauty of it all. I mean, it's everybody's. I've heard, we're on our own lane, and it's one of the things that Tyler's mother had said to him is, don't worry about the guy who's next door. Don't worry about this one. Just keep in your own lane and do what you need to do to literally go out and make it happen. And I want to give a kudos to Time Magazine, because in their recent anniversarial thing, there was the 100 top leaders, and I knew of 3 or 4 of them's names. I've heard of them before, but they were simple everyday heroes who in the last year in their own way has brightened our world from every corner of the world. And that's what I wanted so badly, is to open up my students' eyes. There's a life beyond the United States. There's a life beyond our 4 borders, that we can look and appreciate the magnificent things that are happening. It's just not me. It's all of you, and the doors and windows that you'll open. We had an interesting, I was trying to make a point, and they always help bring me back on point of, sometimes artists stereotypically aren't always outspoken. And boy, I got slammed on that one, right, left, and in between. I'm like, well, everybody has the right to their own skills and abilities. Okay, that's better, teacher. Okay, yeah, it's that one. And I was trying to make the statement that we might be talented in one area, but that doesn't mean that we have talents in all areas, and therefore it might be harder for me to go ahead and explain versus it is to draw, and what I was trying to say, but it got all messed up. And we got to just say it's okay. It's
yeah.
there's a statement I read, and it's don't bemoan your failures of yesterday, but pick up your head and look forward and keep going.
Okay, upon that, I have a couple clips that I'm going to share of you, of different kind of like book launch times, because it shares how you keep going, how, especially after what you just shared right now. Guys, watch these, and then we're going to continue.
My name is Rosalyn Kahn. This is me and my book, Random Acts of Kindness Are Changing the World by Solutions Press. I'm a coach and a professional speaker, and my book here is simply about going out and doing random acts of kindness. A smile on the face, saying good morning, saying good afternoon, opening up a door. These are just the easiest things. I promise and assure you, you simply open up the book, and every day you can turn to another story that'll put a smile on your face and a warm place in your heart. Beautiful book that inspires each and every person I come to talk. Mother of Love and I talked about it today. It was absolutely beautiful, and everybody wants to know the next time they can see Rosalyn Kahn up front and speaking. So coming up down the road, I've got 2 things coming up. Number 1, I'm going to be doing a workshop that is called Cultural and Religious Barriers. Soraya Dean and I will be showing locally, and we're looking for churches, religious institutions, and other places who want to talk about religious and cultural barriers and how we can step to overcome that. And the second one, I'm working with a whole bunch of established people with Focal Rama, with Gaston. Gaston is the person is in charge of that with MGM Productions. We have Dr. Michael, who's a psychologist. There's a lady by the name of Mia, who's the choreographer, the cultural arts. There's a person by the name of Karen Garcia, who's from a radio station in Orange County. And we're going to be, as well as a lady named Melanie Jensen, the Queen of Happiness, talking about domestic violence, going out to schools, colleges, and universities. What are the steps that we can take to overcome? My role will be talking about forgiveness. Random acts of kindness and forgiveness are so closely interrelated. My name is Rosalyn Kahn. My business can be found at rosalinkahn.com.
Tears to my eyes.
Making a difference. And sometimes when someone is being honored, and that's what this is, you're being honored for being a service hero, for going out there, doing what you're doing. And many times those that are doing so much sometimes expect even more from ourselves. And yet when I'm looking at everything, it was hard to decide, okay, what am I going to share? Because there's so much to share. And I know that there's a lot of people right now that are very interested in the TEDx. And so I want to go there before we do run out of time, because I believe that you have a lot of inspiring stories and to inspire others, in the fact that what drew you to a TEDx stage in the very beginning?
Well, it's interesting. I was involved in an organization that was called American Society of Training and Development, a gentleman by the name of Tom Lenzo. The organization isn't around today. And he invited me to this TED experience. And he said, I want you to come and check this out. So I went to go check this out. And I was so impressed that I could still tell you 5 of the 6 presenters or what their topics were on that particular day. And he said, well, there's more. You can become part of the committee and you can learn more about it. And so as an eager beaver in that time when you could get out and go places, I went, and I was the person who helped organize and the operations manager. And as part of the committee, the guy would always say, hey, you should come and meet the leaders. You should go and meet the organizers. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what doors are going to go ahead and open. So I went and I met the organizers. And then there was another day, there was the person who was going to be teaching people on the speaking end. He invited us to go down and go out to events. And so I went down to San Diego and I saw a live TEDx event, and I met a later mentor who's in my book by the name of John Bates. And he and I became the best of buddies. So when he saw me, thank you so much, Caroline. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Lori Whitney. It's absolutely beautiful to have you here. And thank you, Carolyn. So I had met John Bates, and he was doing a workshop, and so I decided to go and to learn. When I was in this workshop, everyone was introducing themselves, and I just said, "Hi, my name is Rosalyn. I'm just a public speaking teacher. I've just been teaching for 13 years, and I'm just here because I want to learn." And I was kidnapped in the hallway, and one of my other mentors, his name is Kat Haber, who's head of TEDx, is in a large variety of Colorado to Alaska and everywhere in between. She says, "Oh, I've got a number of people that I'd like you to help in your speaking and things like that." And I've probably coached close to a dozen of them and helped them to get to their levels of confidence and make it happen. And as I got to the very last one, there was a young kid that I had to go out and coach, and they had me drive back in 5 o'clock traffic. And I said, 5 o'clock LA traffic, if someone puts you in that and doesn't give you anything, a glass of water, you're like, no more free. No more free. That's the end of free. It's my turn. And so I did just that, and later went on to get I went out, and there was an event in Santa Monica, the Santa Monica Storytellers, and I went over there to give a talk, and there was something wrong with the video, but I had emailed this guy, a good friend of mine, an organizer by the name of Don Levy, and liked it so much that before I went to President Barack Obama's inauguration, 5 weeks after I had done that, I was giving my first TED speech on Language Comes to Life, about taking my students to the theater and how it changes the way they learn English.
I've watched that one, and it's a great one. Yeah. So, wow, that incredible. So, I mean, incredible in that you go to the Barack Obama's, the big event there, and that was the first time he was
right.
voted right? Okay, so big, big, big events. Know a lot of people that actually did go to the different, because there's so many different events revolving around that. And then within such a short time to then be on your first TEDx stage, what an incredible rush during that time in your
No,
life.
it was amazing. I mean, there's another short story that goes into that. I've never written a speech so many times as I had done that one, and I had must have written that over 24 times and practiced it. It seemed like a million, and I was going off to the college. And if you know anything about the LA traffic, I'll just give you landmarks. I'll just give you landmarks. And I was in the valley, and if you know where the Northridge earthquake was, you go like that. Yeah, I'm sure from Northridge earthquake is where I live. And then you
Oh,
go to where the Sherman Oaks Galleria is. Let's just call that 15 or 20 minutes. Yes, and I did an amazing interview in Walla Walla, Washington, on a project about a person who was in prison and telling his story with Lori Whitney, and she's my great pound. She's a humanitarian.
oh, I
So
love Lori. I
yeah,
love
she's
Lori.
she is amazing, amazing, amazing person, and just simply amazing. But so giving you landmarks, we were coming down the hill. We were coming down the hill, and I was at this farmers market, the 101 and the 405, and the guy goes, "Rosalyn, I told you about that speech, and you got it all wrong." And so I go ahead and I do a U-turn, and I'm about ready to head back to the valley. And I say, but I'm going to Santa Monica College, and I'm going to be preparing and speaking in front of the speech coach. And he goes, "Go there, and when you come home, give me a call." And so I go and I give my speech, and they gave me some great insight. And I come back, and as I come back, I literally read the speech, and I'm going to a center of people of abilities first is the correct name. And I was given the highest kudos because they said these people never sit and listen to anybody, but you had them spellbound,
Oh, wow.
them spellbound. And it was just, you can, and I tell my students, you can never practice enough because there's always something more that you can go ahead and do. And that's why I say it takes more time to practice a speech than it does to absolutely give a speech.
Mm-hmm.
More time to get out and say what you want to say, and why we need to put so much time into practice. So when the student in class today said, give me a few minutes and let me come back to you. When she came back, her statement was, her story was, when I was in great need, there was a group who reached out to me, and so I want to help the people who helped me become the best that I can become, to give them in ways that I was helped. And I thought, wow, isn't that beauty?
Yeah.
And, there was a thing on school where we had a training. They were all asking, what was your inspiration of what kept you going and what kept you teaching? And I said, I teach because I want to inspire my class. They too want to give a TED speech, maybe through the lessons they can accomplish that.
Yeah.
And I have several who actually,
They have.
yeah. And one person congratulated me and said, "That's cool. That's cool."
You are absolutely, truly a service hero. Truly a service hero. And as we start to round this up, what would you like to leave us with? A short nugget, something that you'd like to say, or possibly something that's coming around the corner that you want to share, either one of the two.
Well, I just think it's important. If you've loved the message, then you want to stay in contact with me, and I'll give you a gift for a gift. If you go ahead and go to my page and you like it, and you get my new book, which is A Message for Tomorrow's Leader, which is less than $3. Everybody has at least $3. You get that one. I will go ahead and send you a copy of the new one, which is, you'll get The Message for Tomorrow's Leader, an ebook for just $2.97. And then I will gift you the Random Acts of Kindness as my gift to you, because we never know with the words we say whose life we can change. You can follow me on Rosalyn Kahn. That's the first book that you'll get. You can follow me on Rosalyn Kahn. It's on my LinkedIn. It's on my Instagram. There's some great, wonderful things that are happening out on Instagram. I can't tell you, but you just want to follow me on Instagram. Make sure that you like me and you follow what's going on and happening. You'll see I love pictures. But Tamara, I don't think anybody has ever told this to you before, but I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I've never been on a show that's taken so many pictures of my past and brought them in front of me for so many people to see. It is just awe-inspiring. And I know that the people who are listening and will hear this show are going to be in awe, because each and every day you're changing people's worlds with the message that you bring. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for reaching out to me last night and saying, can you fill in today? Because I had a cancellation. And Robbie Motter in the Global Society of Female Executives said, you always got to say yes and show up no matter what's going on and what's happening. And that's another book that I'm in, an international bestseller and a world #1 on Amazon. And it is just out there. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's all about showing up. That's right.
Yeah.
It's all about showing up. And I'm one of the contributors. Are you part of the Global Society of Female Executives?
I have to ask her. I know that some of the things that she does, that they've taken on our nonprofit as one of the ones that they honor and help and feature. And so I need to have a conversation with her to see. I'm not 100% sure. However, I love her.
No, she does amazing things. And you know, when you read the book, I started reading a chapter, and there's just wonderful, incredible ladies in there that are truly inspirational. So it was an honor and privilege to be part of that book. And you know, there's always more to come, but you gotta thank you yourself, Tamara. I mean, I've never seen so many different cuts of places that I've been and things that I've done, and you forgot one.
Well, you know, and I hate to say this, but we've got like 10 seconds until I need to let the next show onto the network. And so we've got to say goodbye. Bye, guys. I hate to do this.
Gratitude beyond.